Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. It is right at 4:30 on the button. Just want to start out with pointing out to how to play tomorrow's game. You'll see tomorrow's game, the Battle Stocks Classic, is a new all-day game that we have going on. You can see that normally the games are intraday and normally a little bit shorter in duration. But in this case here, they're not 10 or 20 or 15-minute games. This is actually really going to test your skill level. So that's why it's so important that we actually do the game planning today for tomorrow's trades. So what you're going to do is you're going to end up making your picks before 9:30. You get them in at 9:30, you won't be able to get into the game. Make sure it's at least 10 minutes before the game starts. Best case scenario, you do it right after this call or maybe right after dinner so you don't forget. So the game is going to be 9:30 to 4. So today would have been just an absolutely incredible day to make some picks, get in, get long, and hold those trades all day. It would have been just an amazing, amazing way to take advantage of this intraday trend. Really no pullbacks at all. Lately, what we have been seeing is sellers actually in charge of the close. And if you read the blog post today, we actually said that was the biggest thing to pay attention to today, whether or not sellers came in at the end of the day. And I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but basically what might be called a dead cat bounce after a horrific and vicious selling that happened. Generally speaking, you get a bounce off of that. That's not necessarily new buying as much as short covering. And short covering, if you don't know, short covering basically means on the way down, people are selling short, selling short, selling short. In order to get out of those shorts, you have to buy the stock back or buy whatever the security is that you're trading, and that's what short covering means. So when you get out of a short sale, you cover the position, but what you're actually doing is buying back the stock that you sold. So short covering is usually a fast move off of the lows, but in this case, short covering is normally in a downtrend, and we're not necessarily in a downtrend. We basically have just had even if we just take it all the way over here, we were basically at support. This day was actually a bullish U-turn where we actually ended back up, and then a day of neutrality. We really only had 2 days to the downside, followed by basically 2 inside days. So I want to make that clear. This is order flow. Order flow happens over time. This is nothing more than a couple of days of selling momentum. Now, granted, it was monster selling momentum, but only 2 days. And that's really a big thing to keep in mind as well. When you're setting up your trades, whether they're in battle stocks, whether they're Forex, whether they're crypto, whether they're stocks, whether it's in your real account for that matter, pay attention to your conviction level. Your conviction level should be set. And when I say conviction level, I'm talking about expectation for following through, expectation that your stock is going to move in a particular direction. Ask yourself this simple question. How many days, weeks, or months have big money been making a commitment to either the long side, which is to the upside, or the short side, which is to the downside? So in this case here, even though this was vicious, it was only 2 days versus months of buying. So that should affect you just in a really positive way, that it gives you an idea of how strongly you can feel about a position at buying and selling, and the expectation for it to hit your target. Now, what's interesting also about today, if you happen to have read the blog post today, I said be careful looking only to the short side. Typically speaking, when you get a big move and you get an inside day, you will get follow through. But in this case, we actually got an inside day, and let me show you what that means. This candle here on yesterday was inside Friday's candle. And then yesterday's candle was inside Monday's candle. So you have what we basically call an inside day. So typically what happens is we take all bets off the table and say we definitely believe we're going up or down. And in this case here, we basically said we're going to look for an increase in volatility. And the exact words that I used in today's email is I said we can expect to pick a direction, but let's not guess which direction it is, because again, when you take into context, a longer term picture was bullish order flow, shorter term picture, just a couple of days of bearish momentum, wasn't really clear that we were going to follow through to the downside. And then when we did not follow through after 2 more days, I said, look both ways when crossing the street today. Don't just expect us to go down because of these 2 big red candles. And I said trade for cash flow, which basically meant don't be too aggressive on the long side either way, but especially on the long side because you were fighting the most recent price action. So really good job of the market giving us some tape reading lessons. And that basically means, is price moving closer to or further away from a certain reference point? And what do we do about it? That's actually just as important as well. Actually, something interesting is Netflix actually coming out with earnings after the close. Might as well take a look at that while it's live. Oh, look at that. It's up $41. So Netflix closed right here around 346. So they must have had subscriber growth beats estimates. Yep. So Netflix crushed earnings on earnings growth based on subscribers. And that's actually something else we put in the blog post this morning. So make sure you pay attention to those emails every day. We do our best to sift and sort through the best information so you can just get in there and start trading right away. So Netflix actually closed here. Right now it's trading at 387 and change. So all the way, actually all the way up here, basically trading at a big double top up here. So really big spike coming out of earnings today. So what we're going to do is, again, I'm going to respect your time. We're going to go straight into the stocks in play, look for our best opportunities tomorrow. Don't forget, you can win prizes. The more you win, the better in the money you are, the more chances you have to get into that sweepstakes and increase your chances. So when you log into the game, go to battlestocks.com. You can click right here where it says Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. all day game. Or you can click right here where it says Battle Stocks Classic. Either one will get you into the all-day game. So what we're going to do right now, you can see that there's no entry fee for this, but you can still win prizes. We're going to go based on how they closed today. So we're going to actually not sort by alphabetical or anything like that or price point. We're just going to go take a look at what we see based on some longer-term picture and look at our best ideas for tomorrow. So you know what? I'm actually going to remove how these stocks are trading from after the market close because that's how I do my game planning, which is actually kind of a lesson in itself. I don't want anybody to think that stocks up after hours and that should influence what's going on. It definitely will. But what we want to do today is we want to go based on what the stock did at the close, how it's looking in the longer term picture. And then tomorrow morning, you go back into your stock and you pull up any news to see if it will affect how you created your game plan. So I'm just going to review that one more time because I think it's really a giant part of game planning that a lot of new traders don't know. And maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive to it because when I had my two trading firms in New York City, a lot of traders would ask, well, what if stock came out in the news? Do your charts, do your game plan based on where the stock closed at the end of the day. And I typically, if you've attended one of my seminars before or you happen to be one of our traders, I like to do my game planning on the sevens. 7 o'clock at night, I look at the charts. I do all my game planning like we're about to do right now. I usually take the commute home, you get unwind, you get away from the trading desk for a while, maybe go to the gym, maybe have a glass of wine or whatever helps you relax at the end of the day. Have a nice dinner. 7 o'clock, 3 hours after the market closes, you come back to the charts. 7 p.m., do your chart work, and you do your game plan, and your game plan, again, should be the hardest part of trading because once the market opens, everything should be easy. Once you have your list, there's really nothing to do except look for spots to entry in the direction that you want to trade. 7 o'clock tomorrow morning or whatever time you happen to get to your desk in the morning, take the list of stocks that you want to be long or short for the day. Then you pull up the news and see if there's any news that would negatively or positively, I shouldn't even say negative positive. It's not even, throw that out. Look for any news that would be significant enough to affect your game plan of wanting to be long or short. So let's just say, we'll take Netflix, for example. Let's just say maybe you want it to be short coming into Netflix tomorrow for whatever reason. Maybe it just happens to be down the last 5 to 10 days and you're like, you know what, strong day today. I'm looking for it to reverse just like it did over here. Last time it bounced, it had a really big down couple of days. Just for argument's sake, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm building an argument for doing good game planning and doing it in 2 phases. The first part, scanning for setups. The second part, scanning for news that might affect your setups. So if you came into the day tomorrow saying, all right, not knowing Netflix had news or anything like that, that's not the point, but that's going to be the second point. So you come in and say, I want to short the stock, and then you see it had earnings or whatever the news happens to be, and you see it's trading all the way up here. You say, game's off. I'm not going to trade that stock with the same game plan because the news overtakes the charts. You want to write that down. Incredibly, incredibly important. Don't ask anybody why the support or resistance level held or didn't hold when a monster news story came out. Monster news will always matter more than support or resistance on a chart. It just will. It'll blow through it as if it wasn't even there. So good example here in Netflix. So what we're going to do now is we're going to game plan heading into tomorrow. Again, just one quick setup again. You can click here, Real Prize Battle. Click here, Battle Stocks Classic. You see there's $275 in prizes. Either one of those, get in there and make your picks, hopefully right after this meeting. Amazon, what do we got going on? Interesting here. We actually have potential change of trend here in Amazon that broke, retested the highs, and did not make it all the way back up there. So I call that a failed test. We did not have two inside days in Amazon like we did in the market that we looked at in the SPY there before. So Amazon, to me, right now is kind of neutral. We don't really have a big resistance level we can lean on. We're not really trading with a lot of recent order flow. We're definitely trading with the last 2 weeks of selling. So here's the play if I wanted to sell Amazon. Depending on how the market opens tomorrow, Amazon actually closed higher and is going to end up opening higher with the rest of the market tomorrow, barring anything happen between now and tomorrow morning. I would actually be looking to sell short Amazon on a higher opening. If the stock opens lower, there's still some buyers left in the market. We can look to push higher. But if the stock pushes higher and gets up into this 1,860 level, I would be looking to sell short. However, I want to put this out there. As we start to make the game plan, there are trades that are awesome with order flow and momentum and have room to go. And then there's other trades that work themselves away from perfect, work themselves away from awesome. This is a trade that you can justify but would not be awesome because you're not really trading with longer-term order flow. The most recent price action is down, but strong day today. So I would say a short sell in the area. So it has to open higher, push into 1860, and look for a reversal there. Next, we're looking at Tesla. Let's see what Tesla's going on. Actually up $17 today. A little bit different here in Tesla. We're actually, let's say it's August 13th up to October 13th. So basically 2 months of selling in Tesla, and Tesla's just bouncing with the market today. And you can see very similar to what we talked about before. Not quite inside day, but pretty close, and a bounce to the upside. But really more important is we're actually bouncing out of 5 or 6 days worth of consolidation, and we're actually filled the gap down today at the 280 level. I would actually not want to be long Netflix. There's more selling order flow. There's hardly any bullish momentum. I would actually be looking to sell short Tesla hitting this resistance level here tomorrow at 280. And that's really because this is very different from the other stocks that we've seen. The other stocks have had really clear long-term order flow in just a couple of days of selling. That's not the case here in Tesla. So this is actually a little bit higher on the scale of a stock I'd be looking to sell short. But again, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is probably like a 6.5 or a 7 as far as being perfect. We want to find those trades that we believe can be a 10. Netflix, we just said before, had earnings. Subscriber growth beats estimates. We're trading all the way up here. I'll show that again really quick. Trading all the way up here at 386. It actually was a little bit higher than that before. So we're all the way up here at resistance. So it's going to open up at resistance, at what was support over here. So it's going to open up right into a level where you would expect sellers to come in. So probably tomorrow. What's the best trade in Netflix tomorrow? You might not actually be able to get it when the game starts at 9:30. Best trade in Netflix tomorrow is to watch the thing gap up higher, wait for it to pull back, and then trade the first pullback long. So if you're going to be day trading that stock or even placing a limit order as a swing trade looking at the 420 level, I would let it pull back a decent amount before I look to initiate that. So you would do that with a limit order below where it's going to open tomorrow. If it pulls back and fills you, you'll have a better risk potential leading to a little bit wider reward. UNH, I am so glad UNH is in the stocks and playlist. We actually had this on Monday's blog post, yesterday's blog post, as a big winner. Just to give you an idea what the trade was, we actually said UNH actually failed this breakdown here, this day here, and actually traded into an inside candle. And we were actually looking to get long the stock. And yesterday was where we got the fill. And look what happened today. I mean, just a gigantic trade in UNH today, and scaled out into this resistance, held a little bit of it. If you're looking for a trade here today, I actually would be looking to get long UNH tomorrow, setting up pretty well. But really awesome that trade followed through right out of yesterday's game plan. Hopefully you guys got some of that as well. NVIDIA today, coming off of what most of the market actually opened higher and continued to go higher today. NVIDIA actually opened lower, which is pretty interesting. The fact that it's showing relative weakness, even though it closed on the highs and closed up $10, it kind of sounds weird to say it's relative weakness, but it did not open higher. It actually opened, well, actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. It closed down here, it opened here. It didn't open outside of yesterday's trading range. This trade right now, to me, is kind of a do nothing. If you know, push came to shove, I would say to do nothing in NVIDIA, and I'll tell you why. Look at the last bunch of months, going all the way back to even May. You can make a case right now that NVIDIA is basically trading in the middle of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-month trading range. Absolutely nothing to do in NVIDIA. Could it go higher tomorrow? Yeah. Is it a great trade? No, absolutely not. And by the way, that's what separates great traders who get paid from everybody else. Great traders stay away from the trades that you can't look at it and say buyers or sellers are definitely doing something. You can't say that here. It'd be a complete guess. Keep the money in your pocket, and let's see if we can find some better trades. Boeing, actually interesting. Boeing's actually really interesting setup here, and the fact that really awesome momentum, and this right here looked like an unbelievable spot to get long, to look for it to continue. The market had other plans, crushed the stock, and you can see they're actually starting to bounce. I actually like Boeing long tomorrow. If I had to give it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's probably around a 7, only because it's below this resistance level it broke out from. I would look to see the stock open above yesterday's high, which is actually today's high, get up to that 372 and hopefully punch through. If it wasn't for these 2 monster days, we'd basically have a pause and look for a nice push to the upside. So I would definitely be looking to get long Boeing tomorrow. Amgen, kind of the same thing. You actually had a nice pullback here that held the breakout. Those 2 days in the market actually kind of crushed the bullish action here, which actually has been going on since May. If we draw the proper trend line here, this is actually where the first trend line breaks. So you really can't designate something as a new change of trend until you break it, test it, and then you actually have to break this. So this long-term trend is actually still in play here in Amgen. So I would definitely, and I will get involved in some Amgen in the game tomorrow. Goldman Sachs, again, very similar to what we said about NVIDIA tomorrow, just really no bullish order flow here at all. You could definitely make a case that the stock has been in a sideways trading range since June. Also, as the market was going up here, the stock was actually going nowhere. So that's actually relative weakness to the market. These 2 big down days here, not shocking, even though it was with the rest of the market. You can see we've actually had some pretty solid selling since the middle of August. I'm going to say Goldman Sachs for me tomorrow would be a do nothing. I don't see bullish order flow, bearish order flow maybe over the last few days. I don't love it. For me, it's got to be orderly. It's got to be clean. We got to see clean lower lows, lower highs. We're kind of seeing that. But I don't like this much. See, this is a good example. Remember what I was just saying before, that the other stock did not gap out of the previous day's range? This one actually did. So showing kind of relative strength overnight and actually getting follow through. So it's not a great long, but I don't like the short anymore because of this little relative strength there. Next, we're going to look at Broadcom. Let's see, Broadcom has some pretty good resistance at 252. Again, I want to make a reminder, by the whole game plan we're doing for right now is in the tomorrow's all-day battle, basically called Battle Stocks Classic. It's a 9:30 to 4 o'clock game. Make sure you get in right after this meeting, log in. So what do we got in Amgen? Broadcom. Essentially a clean bullish order flow from the end of August. A really hard time getting over this 252 level. Even if the stock opens higher, you got short-term resistance here at 244. I'm going to say Broadcom is a do nothing for me tomorrow. I don't see a lot of room to go, and I don't see clear bullish trade. Because even if you take out these 2 days, then you'd basically be in a trading range between 240 and 252. So really nothing going on in the stock for about a month, maybe 3 weeks, except for these 2 big down days. Facebook, interesting setup. I still like Facebook on the short side. If you happen to be in there every day, they're running out of real estate. There's really no other way to say it. I don't know how they're going to end up increasing sales where most of their money is coming from the marketing. It's getting more expensive there. Anybody who does any kind of marketing knows that. So I actually, believe it or not, I actually like Facebook on the short side tomorrow. We got some resistance here. If I could draw this out so you can see it a little bit cleaner. This is a level that the stock has had a hard time with. So really right around this 160 level, we almost closed there today, just below 159. Actually, some more bad news here about Facebook. Sorry for stuttering there. I was just reading that. So I actually like Facebook opening higher tomorrow, but hitting this resistance at 160 and then rolling over and probably testing today's lows. Now, something I want to get across again, that is the difference between somebody who goes to the bank and everybody else. That's my game plan for tomorrow. It doesn't mean anything anybody ever says is definitely going to happen. What it means is I'm going in tomorrow saying this is what's probably going to happen. This is what I'm looking to happen. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'll trade out of it. If I even get filled, I'll trade out of it. So that's my game plan for tomorrow. I actually like Facebook on the short side because of that resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times it's hovered around that level. 11 times it hasn't been able to get through it since then. If it punches through tomorrow, big deal. That's my game plan. SQ actually had some bad news this week in addition to the bad news in the market. Pretty solid bounce here with the rest of the market, but I actually am looking to short sell SQ. This went a lot deeper. It was actually a broken trend here even before the market sold off, so I'm actually looking to sell short SQ tomorrow as well. Apple, good example here of a stock doing nothing, and believe it or not, this kind of price action is where most traders lose money. They don't lose money when stocks move. They lose money when stocks do nothing, believe it or not. You get caught up in here just wanting to do something, and money gets vacuumed out of your pocket because you just can't wait to be busy because it happens to be a stock that you're familiar with. There's no edge here at all. Could you make a case for buying 218 and selling 229? Yeah, you definitely can, but you're going to open up around 224, right in the middle of nowhere. You get involved in this, you're basically just guessing what's going to happen. You don't have an edge long, you don't have an edge short, you don't have a good risk parameter. I would skip Apple tomorrow. IBM, again, let's zoom out a little bit. Clearly no order flow at all to speak of. Maybe you can make a case for Head and Shoulders bottom here that actually did follow through but quickly failed. So what's interesting about IBM is that now that we have this level that, actually I can even zoom it out further the other way. This is a level that's been a very significant point for months. So the stock is most likely going to open up higher with the rest of the market tomorrow. We're going to hit this level. I am actually looking to short IBM on the open. And don't forget, when you're in the game, you actually get filled where the stock opened. So even if this stock has a gap tomorrow into that 147, that's actually better. You're not getting filled on yesterday's close. You're getting filled on tomorrow's open. So write that down. I am looking to short IBM tomorrow as well. DE, a complete mess. I don't see any order flow here. I don't see any consistent momentum here. I don't even see consistent green or red candles. I see mostly melted candles, which I call them indecision candles. I'm passing on DE right now. Next, we're going to Baidu. Baidu actually, let's see. Trading range, gap down, follow through, bear flag, really ugly bear flag. It's not orderly. If I had to place a trade in Baidu tomorrow, I'd be sell short, but I'm not going to touch it. It's not perfect. So remember, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfect, 1 being no thanks. This is kind of right in the middle. I don't see a reason to be involved there at all. Let's see, Home Depot. We got lines all over Home Depot. Let me get this out of the way. That was actually from a previous webinar. Big resistance at 207.50. Let me pull this out so we can see it. I don't see a lot going on at Home Depot. We got a significant level here, pretty much where we closed. Another one right here at 202, and then, of course, you have 200. I don't see an edge. If I had to do something in Home Depot, I would probably sell short based on the last 3 weeks' worth of price action, but I don't like to make trades with only a couple of weeks. I want to see some meat on the bones where the institutions actually did something, and I'm going to join them. I'm going to pass on Home Depot tomorrow. JP Morgan actually had earnings last week, and that accelerated the move to the downside. Now, what's interesting here is we actually have another inside day. So what's going on in JP Morgan here, this is inside that, that's inside that. Very similar to what we had in the spiders today, where we had an inside day. So JP Morgan tomorrow, unfortunately for the game, you're going to have to make a pick before the game starts. But look for volatility out of JP Morgan today. I would be hesitant to go long. It might get a bounce off because the entire market looks like it's going to bounce higher tomorrow. But I don't like the stock long at all based on bad earnings or disappointing earnings. I shouldn't say they were bad. The market didn't like the earnings and it traded lower and closed on the lows. So I'm actually going to stay away from this one. I don't see an edge. But If I was day trading this stock tomorrow or initiating a day trade to turn into a swing trade, I would let this stock break out of the opening 30-minute window and then look to trade it in either direction off of that. Walmart, wow, you got the same exact chart of Walmart that you have in Apple. Apple might have a little bit longer term, better bullish order flow, but you can clearly see here that Walmart trading in the middle of nowhere and kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere, and today it closed in the middle of nowhere. I don't see an edge in Walmart at all. I'm going to stay away from that one tomorrow. Roku actually came in hard off of earnings as well as the market coming in. Interesting here, we actually did get 4 days in a row closing above the open, so we got some pretty good solid bullish bids under the market. Bids means people are buying the stock and actually controlling the close where it actually closed above the open, and more specifically the last 2 days near the high of the day. Something interesting here also, we were well bid, which means higher highs and higher lows for 3 days in a row. This is a really tough call. I mean, long-term bullish order flow, obviously, since April. You got a nice 1, 2, 3 bottom there, looking to get long at 34 and really got paid on that one nicely. I don't see a great trade here at all. It's not really a screaming long anymore because the earnings guidance did not come in strong, so you'd be kind of trading against the next 3 months of the way the market reacted to earnings recently. But you can't ignore this here. Man, that's a tough call. And when it's a tough call, great traders step aside. You don't waste money. Don't take risks on mediocre ideas. It's the fastest way to get separated from your capital. Let's see. Next, we have Caterpillar. What's going on? We got a big move up, big move down. There's nothing to do here. I'm staying away. Twitter. What's going on here? I haven't looked at this one in a while. Short covering rally off of a bullish U-turn. So we actually pushed down outside of this trading range. This was actually in the blog last week where we said the longer this thing consolidates, very similar to what Facebook did, but that was a little bit wider trading range. We basically said here, the more this consolidates, expect a big move, and we actually got a big move. In Twitter right now, we actually got a false breakdown and a nice solid bounce. I don't see anything at all to do. I mean, other than this one down day, you can make a case that Twitter's basically trading between 28 and 31 for almost a month now. I don't see an edge in Twitter either. Again, when you learn what not to do, when you learn which trades to stay away from, that's where the money's made. When you minimize your mistakes, you immediately get closer to being profitable. Next, Micron, nothing to do here. You know what's kind of interesting here too, just as a really quick trading lesson, look at all of the indecision candles here, where they basically opened and closed in the same spot. I call those melted candles. I call them indecision candles because they opened and closed the same spot. They couldn't make a decision. There's a lot of those. So there's a lot of indecision in Micron. We're not seeing big red or big green candles. We're not seeing buyers or sellers taking charge during the day. I'm doing nothing in Micron again. Wow, CVX monster. It's a good example of resistance here. Couldn't get through this level. Got up there again, hard reversal with the rest of the market, and not really bouncing today. Again, good example here. Remember what we said before about whether or not the stock opened higher, gapped higher, and what that means for relative strength. This stock closed near the highs, but basically traded near the lows of yesterday all day, and it closed there. If I had to do something in the stock, I would actually be looking to sell short the stock. And obviously, you got the Saudi tensions as well. But again, only a couple of days worth of selling. To me, that's a 5 sell short at best. So again, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to pick my stocks that I think are the great ideas. Right now, that's not a great idea. Again, I can't stress this enough. When you learn to stay away from mediocre ideas, you immediately become a better trader. Because I'm going to tell you flat out, it's not hard to make money when it's obvious. It's trying not to blow yourself up when it's not obvious. So when it's obvious, it's easy. When it's not obvious, do nothing. But the whole key is understanding what it means to be obvious or not. And same thing here in Exxon. We kind of have the same price action. It's a shame that we got this 2 days of selling because I'm probably, if we had a clean pullback, I'd maybe be looking to get long. But you have 2 or 3 days of pretty decent selling, a bullish U-turn today where we traded below yesterday and bounced back. I see this as a nothing to do here as well. So we had about 3 or 4 solid longs there. And also 3 or 4 solid sell short. So plenty of opportunity for tomorrow. That's the 25 stocks that we're looking at for tomorrow. So again, if you have any questions, you can type them in now before we call it a meeting. That was a solid half-hour game planning. If not, log into Battle Stocks tonight, no later than 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Click either here for the Wednesday 9:30 a.m. all-day game, Battle Stocks Classic, or you can click here and get your picks in because they're going to be all day long. So you pick them at 9:30. We pick the winners at 4 o'clock for the sweepstakes to see who's going to win those $275 in prizes. And again, the better job you do at picking, the more you get in the sweepstakes. In other words, if you finish in the money, that's one pick. If you finish in the top 10, that's another pick. So the more you do better picking, that's not even good English, the more picks you'll get in the sweepstakes. So if nobody has any questions, we are going to call it a meeting. I will post a video. But again, get into Battle Stocks, make those picks. It's kind of exciting to be in a game all day. You can check back during the day, see where you're standing. And I'm going to call it a night. No questions. I will say goodnight to everybody, post a video as soon as I can. Have a great night, everybody.